Okay, so all done with phase one. Hi, by the way. Sorry I didn't get a chance to post as many things as I wanted to last week. Like I said, it's been pretty busy, but all done with phase one, which, the whole point of phase one was to ratchet back the amount of food that I was eating and to think about my hunger and the things that were driving it. And when I got, into a situation where I wanted to eat food and I wasn't hungry, to really think about, why that was occurring. And I would say that that was pretty dang successful, to be perfectly honest with you. I felt really good about it. I would say that in an overall kind of look back at it, something that I hadn't really talked about but wanted to make sure and touch on here is that when you're eating, there's a big difference between eating until you're full and eating until you're no longer hungry. That's also another fine line that you can get into here when you're talking about eating emotionally and trying to maintain that kind of balance that you have to have, especially when you kind of have this, binge eating disorder. Is that, are you try to find like those you mentally will try to find a way to break that rule, and that is one way that you can do it, is eating until you're full. Is going too far sometimes. So eating until you're no longer hungry, it might only take a few bites, to be perfectly honest with you. And that's why I advocate kind of eating slower and taking a break after maybe like one course or something. Maybe you're having a salad, or you take a smaller portion of food. Part of the way to be okay with that is to feel out how is it that, are you full or are you still hungry? That's an important thing. And a lot of times what I'll do is I'll eat some food, and then, I'll take it easy for a little bit and see if I'm still hungry. Then I'll have a little bit more. But that's a big thing that I think that everybody should, really consider when you're eating. Eating until you're no longer hungry is the key there. Not necessarily until you're full, because that could be over the line. And when you're talking about somebody who's overweight as I am, and we enter into phase two, that's a big deal, because that can really pack on some pounds. And it's just a cycle that goes over and over and over again, especially if you're in a place where you understand that you have emotional eating issues. Being aware of that, it's a different fight now when you're talking about trying to lose weight, trying to maintain a weight. So that's something to really consider, something I learned in phase one. So we end into phase two, which is ride the lightning. And what we're going to be doing here is continuing phase one, of course, with making sure that we're only eating until we're no longer hungry, and not getting to a point where we're super hungry. That actually happened to me more than a few times, especially this last week. Bad preparation, but there were times where I kind of went over the line, got over. And we'll talk about this later here in some of these phases about a hunger scale, but getting into a hunger level 7 is probably a dangerous place to be. So we're going to slowly reduce and bring back the sugar and carbohydrates here, and introduce mild to moderate exercise. So how does that work? Well, right now a popular thing is called the keto diet, which is really what they want to do is put your body into a form of ketosis, and there's a lot of science that goes into that, with the whole thing of your liver and producing the stuff that helps produce insulin and all that. And I'm not an expert on that by any means. But my goal here with this isn't necessarily that, but to cut out the carbohydrates, the complex stuff in particular, like rice, pastas, tortillas, bread, that kind of stuff, because, my glucose is I'm not into pre-diabetes area yet, but part of that whole deal is that actually will help you store fat. And when you think about it, when you're somebody who's carrying on 300 plus pounds, in order to scale that back without killing yourself, you really have to cut out that stuff to try to get your body to run a little cleaner. And that's the goal here with this. And I had been, preparing this week mentally. It wasn't exactly the best, but I've taken all that stuff away. I want to slowly do that, and that's why this phase 2 lasts so long, because, doing it all at once can be, I think, overwhelming for a person. And that's when you get into a case where you will start to make exceptions. You will start to reason with yourself. And those kind of things, can play havoc with your mental stability, if you ask me, on this kind of thing. So we're going to slowly do that. I had just gotten through this thing called the sugar crush that we're doing here at work. Basically taking out the simple sugars, soda pop. So I've been drinking a little bit more diet soda than I really want to. Just because I feel like diet soda has a lot of other stuff besides the sugar that's missing. So, amped that back a lot, but didn't really have any of that until just this last week. So I feel pretty good about that and where we're going to be with that. So, yeah, taking out the pasta and all that stuff. And tonight, plan on going for a small walk. Not super crazy or anything like that. But we begin this part of the journey, which is quite a lengthy version of it. And again, this is preparation to get into phase 3, where we'll really do some work, I think, in order to take out the pounds. Later this week, or maybe next week, I'm going to be going to the doctor for a wellness check. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that's going to be as far as, what the weight is according to the doctor, and just, blood pressure, all that sort of stuff, the triglycerides, those things. So that's where we stand here, and I'm excited to take this part on and just kind of move along and see where we go from there. So again, appreciate all the support. And again, if you have questions or you want to send me a comment, please don't feel like you can't send me a message or anything like that. Super appreciate it. And then we'll trudge on, and I'll at the end of this week, I'll let you know how things have gone. Like I said, want to slowly kind of ramp that back, and we'll see how that goes this week. All right.